So there's a bit of information and frequency within each of these doctrines, the doctrines that have come down from each of those primary religions that are on the planet right now, that were meant to bring pieces of the understanding, pieces of the frequency. All of them had one thing in common, and so do the first two layers of Buddhism. They all taught of an externalized concept of God, of projecting your power outside as opposed to inside. Part of that was done not by the Krystics, but by the Krystics with a K, but with by fallen angelic races that were attempting to use those teachings in order to harness other people's power for their own uses. But at certain points, some of those teachings, before they got totally twisted into externalized God dogmas, were meant to help teach some of the FA beings that had been or races that had been so arrogant and so I'm God type attitude, to teach them, first of all, you are not, right? First of all, get over your ego trip. So there was a fine line between where an external God concept was meant purposely by FA or fallen angelic mentality as something intentionally to harm someone, or where it was meant by some of the Krystic races or various ones that were training fallen angelics who wanted to host, where they had to learn, relearn how to think about themselves, where they were not the only, thing in the universe. They had to realize that they could, experience giving their power away, and they were eventually lead them back up to where, when you go through to esoteric Buddhism, the Vajra world teachings, these are the tantric teachings. Vajrayana is I think they call it the adamantine vehicle dharmas, which are the teachings. That teaches you, where even the other two teach you, the master is you put your power on the master and all that kind of stuff. Once you get past that, it teaches you didn't have to do that in the first place, which is kind of the trick to Buddhism. Once you realize, you get into the Vajrayana layers, they bring the concept of God back into the self and into the vertical relationship. Now, even the Vajrayana teachings that are on planet at this time, don't fully. They can teach you many interesting things, and you can learn how to, let's say, travel a lot while your body is here. You can also do a lot of other things with your luminary body, which we'll learn some things about in this workshop and others. But there was a progression of teachings through getting basic understandings through, even in the Islamic teachings, which were originally seeded for certain purposes that I really won't discuss on film. But there are still some teachings in there that they're meant to help to bring order and understanding and behavioral self-modification and those kind of things for a civilized society. So there are good aspects in all of the religions, even some of the ones that didn't start out where the other ones had. Let's see, I'll go back into here now. Now, conventional Buddhism. Let me read this first. Transpersonal identity, awakening the Buddha states within. Now, the Buddha states, remember, are what we refer to in the Krist Buddha teachings as that bud state, the bud within that flower of probabilities, that original source out of which the 12 probabilities came, be it the original soul out of which the 12 incarnates came, or the original incarnate out of which the 12 probable selves came. So that when we refer to a Buddha state, that's what the Krystic Buddha teachings are referring to, not some guy who levitates and visits people and reached one of the 5 planes. Because in Buddhism, traditional Buddhism, they teach something about 5 worlds or whatever. There's a lot more than 5, and so the traditional Buddhist teachings will take you to a certain point, but there are points beyond those that haven't even been anchored here in a formal religion or anything. So we have the conventional Buddhism, we have monastic Buddhism, which is referred to as Hinayana, the lesser vehicle dharmas, and Mahayana, the greater vehicle dharmas. Dharmas are teachings, all right, like groups of teachings. And that was the first layer, and then the Mahayana, so Hinayana and Mahayana, the two. All right, these were meant to bring about the Dankini bliss, the Buddha 1 level. So if you completely fulfilled those, you would begin to you would go into fulfillment of the Dankini bliss, or achieve Buddha 1, density 1 incarnate level, where you'd have your 12 probable selves merge to become one fully embodied incarnate, free from the Dana, Kohari, wheels of karma in density 1. The 12 faces of potentiality equals one incarnate identity. So that would become the one Buddha incarnate identity. That is what Buddha level 1 is, and that is what any of the teachings of even conventional Buddhism and anything below it, as far as the learning curve goes, would take you to this level and this level only. That's just the beginning of the Kiti, the Dankiti awakenings that go all the way up to 6 levels. So once you become Buddha, there's a lot of other things to grow into becoming, different levels of Buddha. And those teachings are not on the outside or in the external world at this time, other than the introduction that the beloveds are bringing in now and trying to show where they fit with some of the other teachings that are on planet right now. So we have, let's see, after you get through and go into the Dankini bliss state, where you have your 4 potentialities or your 4 probable selves merge and into one full incarnate identity, one Buddha identity, then the teachings of esoteric Buddhism start to bring you into a bit more of the next level of expansion. So they kind of fit between fulfillment of the first level of Buddha and the second level of Buddha. The Vajra worlds, which are tantric, these are the Vajrayana teachings, dharmas, are the ones that begin to explore all sorts of things, where they begin to teach you that, you know, your relationship with Source, they don't really refer to it as God. The relationship with Source is within yourself, and that, and the lower ones actually teach you to get rid of the concept of self, that you are nothing, which is also twisted from what it was originally intended. It was meant to expand your ego, not annihilate it. But yeah, in the Vajra world teachings, you begin to expand as your Buddha awareness. So it's no longer considered ego because it's now Buddha awareness. This is where you get into, there's some magical teachings, and some of them are even found under the label of Hinduism, where they get into tantric type explorations. Tantra isn't always just about sex. People in America usually have heard it in relation to sex practices from the East. And some of them were about how to use energy in relationship with, you know, making love with each other. But it's also about using energy in general and how you interrelate with energy. So it's like making love, but with all things when you reach that state. So there's a lot of beauty in some of the tantric teachings, but they are not an end unto themselves either. When you go up into the level 2 Buddha, which is the then Kartha bliss, this is where you have 12 incarnate selves, which is 144 probable selves, right? Because you have 12 incarnates, each with 12 probable selves. So 12 incarnate selves merge to become one fully embodied soul, free from the wheels of karma, density 2. So on that next level, you have 12 faces of the incarnate, which is one soul identity, becomes free and activates its Dankiti